Hello, guys. This is Sawyer, the symbiote host of Daily Dose of Comics and RCA podcast. Just reminding you to make sure that during this critical time with the pandemic outbreak, make sure you are, 1, taking care of yourself, 2, staying home if possible, and 3, distancing yourself from others. These are really scary times. I have some friends that are currently in intensive care because of the coronavirus, and it's important that that you take care of yourself. So make sure you're doing those 3 things, and know that I'm thinking of you. And if you are in need of a little smile, I'm glad you're here to listen to today's podcast. And also, if you want a couple extra yucks, if you want a couple more laughs, check out our YouTube channel, RCA Studios. I've been uploading daily there, VR videos, vlogs, and various different things. So let's go ahead and get on with this episode of Daily Dose of Comics. Oh yeah, guys, get excited. This is Daily Dose of Comics for Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. We are going on week 2 with no new comics. That's why I haven't really uploaded, because I don't have any new comics to review and talk about here on the podcast. You know, these are unprecedented times, and you hear that said a lot, but it really is true. Diamond isn't distributing any comics right now, and they're actually really kind of hurting a bit, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And I want to know your suggestions for how you want me to move forward. You know, I can maybe buy some old books, read some books that I haven't had a chance to review to cover. They'll be older books, but, you know, maybe you'll enjoy that. If you have suggestions, make sure you drop me an email at info@ddocomics.com. Or if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment in the description below. I'll make sure to monitor. That was my phone. Monitor these comments and emails and things like that. So, we've gone 2 weeks with it, where we're going on week number 2 with no comics, and I wanted to just go ahead and read the statement from Diamond. For those who don't know, Diamond distributors, they do all of the distribution for comics. They have a monopoly on basically all the publishing for comics, and they distribute it everywhere. So Marvel and DC aren't putting out comics as Diamond is not distributing. So I just wanted to read this statement from Steve Geppi, who's the chairman and CEO and the founder of Diamond Comics Distributors. He says, and these are his words: "As everyone knows, the world faces ever-increasing challenges related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Its effects on the comics and collectibles and tabletop gaming industries have been felt far and wide. We are hearing from thousands of retailers that they can no longer service their customers as they have in the past, many of them forced to close by government action or resort to in-person or curbside delivery." And that's true. You know, my comic book shop here, they're closed, and many around the country are. And because of this, many comic book shops are having to completely close up shop because they're not receiving any revenue. So the comics industry is hurting. I agree with him 100% so far on that. They did try some curbside delivery, but they're not doing that anymore. At least my local shop isn't. And with no new comics, I mean, what are they going to send out anyway? So continue on. "Even those still open are seeing reduced foot traffic in most cases, a situation that seems likely to worsen with time." I agree. I don't think this has peaked yet, and I think it's going to just continually get worse as people need to stay home. You need to take care of yourself. And so he continues. He says, "Our publishing partners are also forced with numerous issues in their supply chain, working with creators, printers, and increasingly uncertainty when it comes to the production and delivery of products for us to distribute." True. I think that comic book writers, artists, even though many of them do work from home or travel while they work, they may be affected, you know. And so, the number of people that it goes into creating a comic book, if you open up any comic book, you'll see a list of 10 people. And if any one of those people are affected, then it's going to be difficult to do any releasing of any comic books. And he continues on, and he says, and increasing, our freight networks are feeling the strain and are already experiencing delays, right? This was when the statement came out. While our distribution centers in New York, California, and Pennsylvania were all closed late last week, our own home office in Maryland instituted a work-from-home policy, and experts say that we can expect further closures. Therefore, my only logical conclusion is to cease the distribution of new weekly product until there is a greater clarity on the progress made toward stemming the spread of this disease. So everything's at a halt. Everything is paused. No new comic books coming out. No new comic books being distributed. And because of that, I don't have new content to pump out either. But if you go onto like Comixology, even though I always support the local comic shops when I can, now's the time to be able to read back some back issues if you can find them on Comixology to read. Just a little heads up if you're not involved in that at all. And when comic book stores do reopen, they're going to need our commerce more than ever. So Diamond is shut down, right? Basically everything's shut down, okay? So there's no new comic books. And so he continues on with the effects on Diamond Comics distributors. He says, product distributed by Diamond and slated for an on-sale date of April 1st or later will not be shipped to retailers until further notice. So, basically, I just see a gap here. Hopefully, after a month or however long it's going to be, they'll just resume as normal with everything delayed. For the time being, however, we have been able to develop procedures with our teams at the distribution center in Olive Branch to safely continue fulfillment of direct ship reorders for the retailers who are able to receive new product and need it to service their customers. It's unlikely that orders will be filled on the same day they are placed, and these plans are subject to change. If at any point we no longer feel that we can safeguard our teams while fulfilling orders, and that's change, right? They're not fulfilling anything right now. Product distributed by Diamond UK and slated for on-sale date of March 25th or later will not be shipped to retailers until further notice. Further updates with regard to reorders and other Diamond UK specific information will be communicated directly to their customers as information becomes available. So what about the effects on Allegiance game distributors? Now, if you're a big gamer, this is important. It says, product distributed by Alliance has been shipping from our Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Austin, Texas warehouses. Both are closing and have been closed since Tuesday, April 24th. In the interest of employee safety and to comply with direction from local governments, any orders not shipped by that time won't be processed until further notice. Your dedicated sales team will still be working remotely to help you with any orders you'd like to place today or any questions you may have. So what's going to happen? What's the path forward after this? Steve continues, he says, with these changes in our distribution strategy, we will work with our publishing partners to develop programs that will address product already in the pipeline and that will happen when we resume distribution. So hopefully these books that we're excited for, that were supposed to come out these next few weeks, will still be distributed and be resumed later on. We know that during this time we will face many challenges and we will direct our energies toward addressing them, rather than fighting on increasingly numerous fronts to get product out. And I think this is wise. Shutting things down will help, slow the spread of the virus. And for those retailers who remain open in various forms, I encourage you, let loose your own creativity. For the time being, you'll be able to replenish your perennials from Diamond and or Alliance, but you should also remember the stock you already have in your stores. If your doors remain open, it's likely you will have customers who will continue to seek diversion from events of the world. Special sales, promotion, and even eBay can help you bring in cash during this trying time. Okay, so now, they're like, oh yeah, hey, we're not going to give you comics, but if you're going to stay open and try to see how it works, just be creative. Try to figure it out. And some shops are doing that, trying to do curbside delivery and things like that. But everyone knows that your pull list and those who have sub boxes, that's your bread and butter. That's how you get your your same money every month. You're able to know how much income you're going to have, and now that's taken away because Diamond has closed up shop. Not saying that's a bad thing, and I understand that these decisions have to be made, and I think it's the right decision. But to say, oh, just try to be creative to try to figure out how you're going to make money. Well, every comic book store in the nation knows that the bread and butter of any comic book store that's making their money is from pull lists. So yeah, it's kind of like, duh, right? We got to figure out something if we're going to try to get any kind of income. And many shops are already trying to sell on eBay. They're trying to figure out ways to make money during this time. So I don't know if that necessarily need to be said, but whatever. He continues, product for which you've already paid may well hold some of your answers. There have been many solid suggestions offered about how to help our retailers, and we will bring many of them together in future communications. Yeah, right. Besides the industry's most immediate needs, we have been and will continue looking forward to the future. When we see stores opening, bringing staff back on board, and getting customers in the door, we are looking at issues like debt accrued due to the crisis. What reduced ordering means for your discount tiers and the availability of credit to help stores through and after this difficult time. Okay, so Diamond has, the way they set it up is, okay, if you order so many copies, depending on how much money you spend will affect how much of a discount you get. And that's the profit margin that comic book stores make, right? So what are they going to do? If you have a small shop that orders, a few hundred books a week, they're not getting a huge discount on the cost of the product. So it would be nice to see them just be able to lower or increase the discount for all shops, especially those that are smaller that are about to go under because of this pandemic. To create to be able to create a system to where the discounts are large for everyone around the board, I think is the best way to go, and that will create long-term health of the comic book industry. So how they're going to do that, I don't know. But I hope for the best, because there are comic book shops out there that are having to close their doors because of this pandemic, and if Diamond has it in their heart to create bigger discounts for those that are going to try to come back after the pandemic, I think that would be awesome. As I mentioned in my last update, this industry has been one of the greatest joys of my life, from my days as a collector to a retailer to today. I and my leadership team have made these decisions knowing full well the effect that they will have on all of you, as well as our publishing partners and our own team members around the world. At the end of the day, the safety and security of our team and yours, along with the many customers we serve, is paramount. Of course it is. I again thank you for your ongoing patience and support. Thank you, Steve Geppy. So, we're in a waiting game here. What's it going to look like? What's going to happen, several weeks from now when Diamond's able to reopen, when comic book stores are able to reopen? Are they going to have some leniency with comic book stores to be able to secure their financial foot forward? I hope that they do work with comic books and comic book stores to make sure that, because of the debt accrued, that they're not just wiped off and said, I'm sorry, you can't pay your bill, you're done, right? Because as much as comic book stores need Diamond, that's an absolute fact. Diamond needs these comic book stores, and there's a lot that are closing because of the pandemic. And I want to read an article from Forbes.com. The author is Rob Sakowski, and this is titled "Final Crisis?" Diamond Comic Distributors halt shipments of new comics in response to COVID-19 shutdowns. And he says the COVID-19 pandemic is increasingly being referred to as an extinction-level event. And I think that's true. We are seeing comic book stores shut their doors. And it's an extinction-level event for certain kinds of businesses and industries. And nowhere is that closer to the truth than the fragile network of small businesses that sells comics at retail. In addition to all the other issues and uncertainty facing small retailers everywhere, the direct market thought to comprise roughly 2,000 shops in North America and hundreds more worldwide relies on a single distributor, Baltimore-based Diamond Comic Distributors, to coordinate weekly shipments of new product from dozens of publishers. Said that at the beginning, right? They have a monopoly on comic books. On Monday, March 23rd, Diamond announced it would suspend shipments of new products until further notice in response to a myriad of economic, regulatory, and public health concerns related to the COVID-19 situation. I don't think that's necessarily wrong, right? I understand. In other words, retailers will have no supply of new products, and publishers will have very limited channels to bring their periodicals to market, formalizing what already looks to be an extinctional crisis for the industry that generated roughly $1.1 billion in sales in 2019 and serves as a primary IP foundry for today's movie, television, video game, and licensing industries. Economic circumstances really forced Diamond's hand. With increasing number of retailers subject to closure by government shutdown orders, that's how it is here in Iowa, uncertainties throughout the supply chain, shipments on the way to stores that couldn't receive them, and concerns about the welfare of the company's own warehouse workers, Diamond realistically had few options. That's true. I mean, they didn't have much of a choice. And then he goes on and he talks about, from Geppi's article. He says, Geppy went on to clarify that realtors will still be able to replenish stock of perennial strong sellers like graphic novels and games through Diamond and its affiliate Alliance Game Distributors. The distributor is also exploring ways to reduce the financial strain on direct market stores by looking at issues like debt accrued due to the crisis, what reduced ordering means that discount tiers and the availability of credit to help stores through and after this difficult time. Not really sure how I feel about them offering, I hope that they are compassionate toward these smaller stores because, these discount tiers make up everything, right? The greater discount you can get, the higher your profits are. And if you're a small shop that doesn't have a great ability to order thousands of comics, then this can really hurt you. So hopefully they'll be very compassionate toward the smaller comic book stores. Diamond, this is continuing in the article, Diamond, by virtue of its solitary position in a key part of the comic book economy, has always had a supportive relationship with its retail partners. True. But because the two sides have a mutual interest in the health of the ecosystem, and because Geppy himself is deeply and personally invested in the comics business, reaction across the close-knit comics retail industry was generally understanding. True. Despite the grim outlook that Diamond's move portends, comic shops have managed to survive market conditions that would have killed off practically any other business because of the passion of the shop owners and the unique bond that the stores have with their customers. I agree, right? Just because the pandemic, I still love comic books. It's nothing. It's a very strong fandom that is very supportive, and because of that, I think you'll see people rally behind their comic book stores. Think about it like this. How long ago was that? 10 years ago, when everything was going to digital, there were so many speculators out there that said, "Oh, this is going to completely wipe out any comic book retailer in the nation," right? They're done for. That wasn't the case. People still rallied behind the print comic books. Sure, there are some that only read digitally, but even those that do read digitally still go in to support their local comic shop. it didn't wipe it out. If anything, I think it made it stronger because people had greater access to comics, and they're like, oh, you know what, I want this in print form. And especially with the advance of, film and television, it has caused a great resurgence in the comic book community where there are people now reading comics who didn't used to before. So, I think that that more than ever, I think people are going to come behind their local comic shops and be supportive to make sure they're successful. The article from Forbes continues. It says, most successful comic book and gaming stores are community hubs in addition to retail outlets. They host events, game nights, and creator appearances. True. Some store staff play a crucial role in hand-selling titles to customers through word-of-mouth recommendations, and most stores offer a discount to regular customers. That's true. I get 10% off my pull list if I have more than 10 comics I'm pulling. So, retailers are passing the word of Diamond's move along to customers in the spirit of community solidarity in the face of overwhelming crisis, asking for support and understanding they can reasonably expect to be forthcoming. Whether that is enough to sustain business, that will be hard-pressed to meet payroll, rent, and other expenses in the absence of both customers and product remains to be sent. True. Continues on, and then he wraps things up by, the quote from Geppy, we urge large publishers to think about the long run. So I'm curious then, what's your comic book store? What's your local comic shop doing? Anything special to get through the pandemic? These are really trying times. I think I have a stack here of comics that I haven't reviewed yet, so I think I'll dig into those and at least have something to post. But what are your thoughts on everything? How is your life being impacted by the pandemic? I'm curious. I'd like us to all be able to come together and bond together through this pandemic. So make sure you check out all the links in the description, how you can connect with us. And like I said, on YouTube, we're posting videos every day. I got time on my hands, so I've been playing some some horror VR games. I've been doing some family vlogs, some pack rats, and a bunch of different stuff. If you guys want to connect with us, that's the place to do it, at least right now. We'll stick in this together. We got each other's back. This is an awesome community. All you who are listening, I really am grateful. What an honor it is that you would take time out of your day to listen to me. I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me. So I am grateful. We'll get through this together. Might not have new comic books to talk about, but at least we can read some old issues together. So I thank you so much for the gift of your attention. Rebels unite, rebels for life. We've been saying it since 2015. And it still holds true today. Where are my Star Wars fans at? All right. We'll see you next time for an episode of Daily Dose of Comics. Take care of yourself. Make the most of every day. And hug your loved ones if you can. Wait, no, don't hug them. Social distance from them. Sorry. Take care. Peace.